What's up, guys? Rick here with this week's betting and one and done preview for the Workday Charity Open. If you're looking for DFS preview, that's already out. Go back in the feed, or I will link it right here and in the description so that you can go back and check out some of the fantasy options. But this is for betting purposes. So we'll go through, win odds, top 5, top 10, top 20, maybe a few matchups, and then we'll get to the one and done. It has been a very good week, or a couple of weeks, I guess, since the restart for the community. I shout out a lot of the people who've been having great weeks in that DFS video, so go check that out if you would like. And everything that you see in these videos is available on RickRunGood.com. That's my website. It's full of data visualizations for golf. All right, let's jump into this week's Workday Charity Open. Here we go. The Tournament Predictor tool. If you are new, what this tool does is it takes the implied Las Vegas win percentages, so the odds for each golfer to win, top 5, top 20, top 10, and compares it to the actual likelihood of those golfers to reach such numbers, and then sees if there's any value anywhere. Now, the way this works is we have to designate what the potential winning score will be, or the strokes gained by the winner. This is obviously a new event. This is not an event that we've seen before, but let's just go back and see what kind of scores we've had at the Memorial. This is the strokes gain database, which has to be my favorite tool on the website here. So let's pull up the Memorial. Oh, we've got to do 2019. I had 2018 clicked. Let's do this. Let's do the Memorial for 2019. Here we go. Now, the winner, 19 strokes gained, Patrick Cantlay. Adam Scott came in second, 17 strokes gained. In 2018, Bryson DeChambeau won it, gaining about 12 and a half strokes. In 2017, Jason Duffner won, gaining 16 strokes, but he would have won it with 14 because he won by 3 shots. So looking at this and trying to figure out what the score is going to be, I'm okay with leaving it here at 15. That's the average strokes gained on tour for what's going to win a golf tournament. I'm okay leaving it there. But for the second week in a row, and I got to tell you, betting outrights is... there has not been a lot of value in it. Have we hit winners? Yes, of course. But if you are if you only follow the spreadsheet, which I like to do, there is not a lot of value from these books. I think books are really taking the opportunity to say, okay, lots of new people betting golf. I'm just going to lay a bunch of bad odds on you and see what happens. And that's kind of what we're seeing reflected in these betting markets. So, for example, if we say 15 strokes gained is going to be the winner, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15 golfers that have any level of positive expected value, and none of them are really all that appealing. I guess they're kind of appealing. So the ones that pop off the board, Patrick Cantlay and Brooks Koepka are the first two with positive expected value. So what that means for Patrick Cantlay, his odds from Vegas, which I believe are 14-1 at the moment, imply that he's going to win this golf tournament about 7% of the time, 7.1. I have him winning about 7.4% of the time. So that is expected value, but it is the tiniest bit of value. It's probably not worth hanging your hat on. Same thing for Brooks Koepka. Vegas implies that Koepka wins this golf tournament about 5.5% of the time. I have him about 5.8. So it's not a lot. It's a little bit of value, but it's the only two guys near the top of the betting board with such value. Mark Leishman is another. Mark Leishman's almost a full percent. Vegas says he wins it about 2% of the time. I say he wins it about 3%, or the model says he wins it about 3%. Shane Lowry, Lonto Griffin, Mark Hubbard, they're all positive expected values. Let's see if we can find the biggest expected value. Is it Leishman? Oh, it's Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry, Vegas says he wins it about 1%. I say he wins it about 3.9%, something like that. That's the biggest value, but I mean, it is ugly. I'm not going to lie. It is very ugly. And I think that speaks a lot to the absolutely terrible pricing that we are getting from books at the moment. Unfortunately, we can't look past that. So if we want to be just beholden to the numbers, it's tough to bet anybody in and out right now. If we don't want to be beholden to the numbers, if we want to look a little more anecdotally, if we want to look for reasons to bet some of these guys, I certainly have those takes as well. I do think it is a Brooks Koepka week. You know, the last time we saw him flying up the leaderboard at the RBC Heritage, he's sitting there at 14-1. It is all about the flat stick for him. Now in the midst of an 8-round stretch in which he's gained strokes with his putter. The last time he did that was in the midst of his 2018 U.S. Open victory that week and surrounding weeks. So really like the opportunity there for Koepka at 14. But then I look at guys like, so there are some guys here that, you know, we talk about a lot in terms of upside. Who actually can win this golf tournament? Joaquin Niemann can win a golf tournament. He won the Greenbrier earlier this year. Mark Leishman can win a golf tournament. He won at Torrey Pines earlier this year. Cameron Champ can win a golf tournament. He's won twice in his PGA Tour career, both the Safeway and the Sanderson Farms. Those are guys that can actually win golf tournaments. Those are guys that are going to be getting some levels of investment from me in outright markets. When you turn to whether it's top 10, top 20, or even top 5 markets, there does become a little bit more of an opportunity. And I'll adjust the strokes gained here just so we can see some positive stuff. There we go. Let's hope that only 13 strokes gained is the target score, because then we get a lot of value all over the place. A lot of guys can get to that number. I'm willing to buy back in on someone like a Scotty Scheffler, for example. Maybe a top 10 run on Scotty, who, of course, was the worst player in the field on Thursday at the Rocket Mortgage. He was one of the best players in the field on Friday at the Rocket Mortgage. And you can make the argument it's easy to play when you start the day 12 shots off the cut line or whatever he did. So it's easy to go out and shoot a low score, but the statistical profile of what Scotty Scheffler did on Friday has me very optimistic about him moving forward. And then you always have my buddy Lonto Griffin always shows up here, right? Here's Lonto. Lonto, I think he is a value to win. I think he is a value for top 5. I think he's a value for top 10. I think he's a value for top 20. That's what the model says. It is also backed up by my gut as we kind of bet. You know, I think I've bet Lonto the last 2 weeks to be top 20. I think he's finished 23rd and 21st, but you get like 12-1 and 8-1 on him to do that. Like, it's crazy. I have him reaching the top 20 about a quarter of the time. 25% of the time. His odds imply he's only going to do it 16% of the time. That to me is a pretty significant value. Let's go to head-to-head matchups. Head-to-head matchups have been increasingly the best way to bet golf, especially because the outright markets have been so terrible. Not only head-to-heads, but live head-to-heads, round-by-round head-to-heads. The number of tweets that I've gotten since I posted that video 2 weeks ago entitled "The Most Profitable Way to Bet Golf," I believe it was titled. I'll link it here and in the description as well. You can always find it in the feed. It's from a week or two ago. Ever since I posted that video, the amount of screenshots that I get, the amount of tweets that I get or emails that I get of people being like, I went 4-0. I went 5-1. I hit a 10-person parlay. Like, literally, these are real things people have sent to me. It's incredible. The amount of success we've seen from this. And myself, I think, you know, I try not to post pics on Twitter, right? But sometimes I just can't help myself. And I think in like the 9 that I've posted in the last 2 weeks for round 4 were like 9-1-1 or something like that. You know what I mean? I know others are finding great values as well. So this is where I've been living. I've been living in this matchup situation. So we're going to go full tournament matchup. And then I just encourage you, go look at that video. Go watch that video, because live in-game matchups has been the absolute best way to bet for a while. And guys are taking advantage of it. I want you to be able to take advantage of it too. All right, let's start with this one. I see Brooks Koepka versus Patrick Cantlay. They are both minus 110. I would like to see what those numbers look like. Oh, wow. I have Cantlay winning this 56% of the time. I have Cantlay should be, now this does not include VIG, minus 129. He is minus 110. That's a pretty significant favorite. I kind of like Patrick Cantlay here. This is interesting. What he does and what you can kind of see from this, he has such a higher floor than Koepka does. Obviously Koepka went on a run here where it wasn't necessarily good at the end of 2019 and into 2020. He's getting better now. Cantlay's been just very solid, and when you have head-to-head matchups, guys that are well-rounded or have a high floor tend to show up better in the simulator. So that might be a bet. As much as I like Koepka to win this week, a Cantlay head-to-head might be profitable. This is a pretty big number here. Let's see this one. Justin Thomas versus Jon Rahm. And I'm looking at William Hill right now, and this has, very interesting. Okay. William Hill has Justin Thomas at minus 150. I have Jon Rahm at minus 115. I have it flipped. I have Rahm being a 53% favorite here, which would be one of the bigger differences that we could come across. Let's do Ricky Fowler versus Colin Morikawa. That's interesting. Morikawa doesn't have as big of a sample size. You'll see that here in a second. Yeah, you can see his sample size really doesn't pick up until more recently. I've got Ricky Fowler winning this 54% of the time. Both guys are minus 110. Fowler, helped by his memorial history, obviously, course history at Muirfield Village. So that's pretty interesting. So you can run through, this is the head-to-head simulator on RickRunGood.com. You can run through as many of these as you would like. I'm just going through the ones that I find to be the most interesting. And already we found a couple of discrepancies that I might have to lay a wager on. All right, let's turn our attention to the one and done, because I think this is a very interesting situation that we have this week. Now, this is weird, right? We could not have planned before the season for the John Deere Classic to be canceled, or I guess any event to be canceled, for the Workday to take the spot in the schedule for Muirfield Village to host 2 straight events. So we are working with, I don't want to say incomplete data, but not exact data, right? We're working off Muirfield Village and the Memorial for results, for trends, for calculations, but it's not a perfect fit. So bear with me here as we all try to figure this out for this week. I'll show you what happened last year. So last year at the Memorial, Matt Kuchar, I guess rightfully so, was the heavy highest selected pick. 536 picks for last week. Patrick Cantlay was second. I imagine he is going to be incredibly popular again this week. Tiger Woods is not in the field, obviously, for the Workday. Tony Finau was pretty popular. That will not be happening this year. Adam Scott, he's not back. Ricky Fowler, Gary Woodland, Hideki Matsuyama. So this is kind of where things get a little bit wonky. We have to figure out how this is going to translate for this season. I imagine if you still have Justin Thomas, you're probably not burning him this week at a course where I think the prize pool is, the purse is like $7.5 million, something like that. It's not a big prize pool, especially because he's coming off the missed cut. You're probably not using him there. There are so many question marks at the top of this board. Think back to last week. Think back to, I feel like I could run the tape. Last week is so many great options. Bryson clearly knocking on the door. Webb is right there. He's coming off of his win. Hatton, Hovland, all guys that you would be very comfortable playing. You are not comfortable really playing a lot of these guys. Justin Thomas coming off the missed cut, but clearly the best player here. Brooks Koepka, who flashed a little bit of brilliance, but if that's going to be the case, you don't want to burn him here at the Workday. Patrick Cantlay, no question marks whatsoever, except for the fact that he's probably going to be the highest owned golfer here. Hideki is near the top of the betting board. He's a guy that can you really trust? I mean, there's so many question marks here. You have to figure out what works best for you. If I was front running, I would be on Patrick Cantlay. I would just say, you know what? Give me Cantlay. He's finished 11th at Travelers. He won here at the Memorial last year. He played great at Muirfield Village each of the last 2 years. This is a second shot course. Go, make others come catch me, right? By taking the chalk. So if I was leading, if I was near the front of the pack, I would just be eating chalk right now and going with Patrick Cantlay. If I needed to make up ground, probably not going to save Brooks, because if Brooks is back, you want to save him for something later. Justin Rose, if you've not used yet, is incredibly interesting. His tee to green game is reminiscent of that of a guy who was the number one player in the world. Let me see if I can show you this really quickly. I might have shown this a little bit on the betting on the DFS preview. I'm not sure if I did. If I didn't, let me show you here. So Justin Rose tee to green. Now the two of his 3 starts since the restart: 8.7 gained, 6.3 gained. If you go back and find other times that he's gained that amount tee to green, you're talking about, a 3rd place at the US Open, a 3rd place at the Wells Fargo, an 8th at the Players, a win at Farmers Insurance, a 4th at the Tour Championship, a 2nd at both the BMW and the Dell Technologies. This is Justin Rose's path to victory. It is be great tee to green, which is what he's done in 2 of the first 3 events back this year. So he's someone that I think is very interesting if you still have him available. And he was playing so poorly for a while that you might still have him available. Let me see how much he's been used here. He has been used. Oh yeah, he's not even in the top. He's like the 15th most used golfer. 31% of you have used him. So a lot of you have Justin Rose available. I think that is incredibly interesting. If you want to go deeper, and you haven't used either Victor Hovland yet, or Colin Morikawa yet, this might be a good time to do so. Victor Hovland, absolutely knocking at the door. The kid's going to win. He's going to win at some point. It might be this week. He's going to win a lot. Best player in the field, tee to green last week. You have to love that. Morikawa gets a little bit of a reset. Misses the cut at the Travelers. Didn't play well at, what would that have been, Harbortown, because I'm not sure because of this, but he misses the putt in the playoff at Colonial to lose to Berger. Wasn't the same since. Now gets a hard reset at a place that he should be very good, but I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play him. So he might be kind of your sneaky little high upside guy who should dominate around any course that is a second shot course like Muirfield Village is. So I think you have a few options. Cantlay, Rose, Hovland, or Morikawa. That's basically where I'm going, depending on what I need in my one and done pools. I hope Koepka wins it. I'm going to bet him outright. I've already bet him outright. But I think for one and done purposes, if he is back, you might want to save him. That'll do it for me. This has been your betting and one and done preview. Best of luck this week. Tweet me. Let me know who you're betting, who you're picking in your one and done. It's at RickRunGood. Good luck this week. Talk to you soon.